My name is Judah McNeil. This is Ramble Source, and I'm coming back with a little Blackburn action. Josh Blackburn, Captain Jack. Why do you say Captain Jack? Because I often call you Captain Blackburn.
Great.
Yeah, somebody who I love to bounce ideas off, talk about. We're both in the counseling field now. In college, we spent hours debating things, and we just want to do that again with the excitement of going live. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm peachy, hence the pink shirt.
Yeah, you do look like a peach.
Yeah, I'm a little peachy today.
That's cool. Well, one of the things we wanted to talk about, and we want to, as we both share the, we're both in the field of people helping. Me a little less now, you a little more now. It's kind of flipped a little. We'd like to get to the idea of helping and talking through things with mostly young men, but people in general through therapy, right?
I mean, it doesn't have to be therapy, right? Like you could be on a backboard. There's the realm of coaching or teaching, right? It's all in the broader helping professions.
Yeah.
Personal, I suppose there's a difference between personal development, but also, people that are in the professional human growth and development field.
That's good. That's a good way to put it. And today we're going to talk about skills for young men. Now, you brought this topic up. You were talking a little bit about it to me. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit? Sure.
Well, I mean, part of this, I think, is also for me, like a midlife exploration. It's like, the context, like the place in which we live out life is always changing. So what people need skill-wise today is different than maybe what you and I needed 20 years ago. I don't know how much of a difference. I'm not sat down to really think this one through. But, like you hit midlife and you start looking backwards, and like we was talking before we jumped on, like if I were to write a letter to myself or write a book to myself, I'm just trying to explore the idea of like what kind of skills and some basic knowledge, like some really usable
advice.
No, knowledge. Because see, advice is really to it's often to a particular situation, as opposed to like having a principle that you can work.
Tools. So you're kind of talking about like tools.
No, tools. Yeah. So this is fun when like people talk about tools. Tools are, like in the counseling world and in the psychology world, like when we say tools, really we're talking about instruments, right? Like something I use to measure, or I might have a worksheet. A worksheet is a tool, right? Or some kind of tech. That's a tool. Skills, I mean, that's something you can practice.
Skills.
You're going to do it over and over again, but it's all going to be based on some kind of principle. So, for instance, if I said arousal regulation, that's a concept, right? But then you start to get in like, well, what is that? And how does that work?
Yeah.
And what's emotion regulation, which is a little bit different than arousal. If you brought in attachment, it's like, okay, so how are you kind of dealing with these bonds with other people? How do you deal with stress?
Yeah.
How do you respond to yourself and others in real time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. What? So one of the skills you're bringing up is arousal suppression. Is that what you said? Regulation.
Arousal. Yeah. Arousal.
Tell me more about that.
Well, like when you get activated, and arousal is an interesting concept. Think about like just in this moment, how awake are you? How aroused are you? Right? You're not. You don't look like you're slumped over and you're slowing down. You're kind of collapsing into yourself. Like that's low arousal. High arousal, right? Hands are moving. We're talking faster. Our eyes are wide open.
Right? You're moving, yeah.
Right. And that concept alone is kind of useful in the sense that we can do certain things in those different arousal states. Certain things are
Okay.
possible inside of those arousal states.
So that's the concept. What is the skill?
Well, so yeah, I'm not necessarily going to jump too quick to a skill on that one because, like, well, I mean, sure. Let me throw a skill out here. Why not? Right. What's the one thing that controls arousal faster than anything else is your breathing. And you can.
Interesting.
Most people don't think about how they breathe. They don't practice how they breathe. Right. A lot of people are shallow breathing, holding their breath, breathing too quickly. You can use your breath to arouse yourself. In fact, a lot of sports folks, you know, they will jack their system up before acting. You know, combat shooters practice breathing techniques in an attempt to level things out, not to go high, not to go low. So box breathing, you know, 4-4, like if you're going to breathe in, you know, for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for, you know, any kind of like stabilizing. There's lots of different ways to breathe. It depends on what your goal is. Like, what are you attending? Like, what's your intentions? So it's like most people aren't aware of their own arousal patterns. They're not aware of how their body actually functions, right? And then how do you influence that in real time when you need it? Like, not something you learned in school, not something I learned in my therapy program. I mean, a little bit, but not to the degree that it's like you can package it and go, here, brother. This is something that you need to understand for yourself and for other people, because once you're aware of it, you can see other people's arousal states.
It's true. And when we're talking about arousal, what immediately comes up is the sexual arousal, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the generalized idea and concept of arousal. How would you define arousal? Like our interaction with the world around us, sort of an immediate physical sense?
It's a state. It's a physical state.
Okay.
State of an embodied physical state, because it's going to be a combination of like, one way to really simplify it is just high and low. You know, if you're in a high arousal state, things move fast. When we move fast, we make mistakes.
Good point. Yeah, I used to teach young.
Low, right? Things might move better, but there is a layer of too low.
Yeah.
And when people collapse, so, you know, like, you can really push somebody into a low arousal state and crush them, which is a dangerous thing to do, you know. Or if you find yourself, you know, your body tends to go into that low arousal when confronted with stress, you've got to figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah, because action is, you want to be able to take action, and low arousal inhibits action. It inhibits
possum. Think possum.
Oh yeah, that's good. I used to teach. You should teach young men that about when this came up. We talked about it in terms of anger, because a lot of times working with young men in high school, the regulation of anger, they weren't even conscious of the fact that they had different levels of anger. Anger was taught to them by teachers that it was all bad, right? Like the anger is a bad thing,
or modeled,
you know, just suppress it.
Right? Like most young men have seen other men be angry. They've seen women be angry, and they've seen it work.
They've seen it work, and they've seen it.
And they're also told it's bad.
Well, and they've seen it come out in bad ways, you know.
Sure, absolutely.
They probably haven't seen anger come out in a positive way,
right?
And definitely in our society, we don't shape anger to, you know, empower young men to use anger in a good way.
Yeah. And so we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, because arousal is different than emotions.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't even believe that anger is an emotion in some ways. It's one of the ones that,
that's interesting.
You know, anger is a response to me. Now, this is just a theory, you know. Anger is a response to pain. And so it's hard. It's a different kind. If it is an emotion, it's a different kind of emotion than the other ones, because it's so tied to pain.
I'll second that. It's often classed as a secondary emotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an emotion in response to other emotions.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, we learned that it is a response in defense of personal, what are the three things? Essential needs, personal values, and, our worth. If those things are attacked, our worth, our values, or our needs, then anger comes to our defense,
Right. Just trying to keep us safe. And we'll burn down the house to do
it. But you're right that arousal is a little bit. Let's back up a little bit and talk a little bit more general. Yeah, a little more basic.
It's a little more basic. And of course, if you're in a high arousal state, it's easy to find yourself anxious. It's easy to find yourself angry. It's easy to experience, different kinds of things inside of your body that don't feel very helpful, like overthinking or spiraling or panicking or
it's interesting too, because arousal is contagious, right? Like if somebody is in this high energy state of like anxiety or even passion,
it's very contagious.
It really like, all of a sudden I can't think. All of a sudden, my heart rate is up.
Right.
Yeah.
Emotions are the same way. So, there's a place where these start to Venn diagram, right? Arousal and emotion, but they are kind of like, they can be somewhat distinct from a conceptual perspective. And, is there much of a difference? I don't know. But I think for, teasing out some things, some basic concepts that are really useful.
Yeah. Skill number one.
Yeah.
Skill number one is breathing.
Watch your breathing.
Just being aware of our breathing. Is there any kind of? Did you want to get any more specific?
No. Just being awareness is a process. It's also a skill. Just being aware of what you're doing brings you information that you need in order to do something different. Right? You're not on autopilot anymore when you are aware of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, once you learn more about breathing, you can figure out like, okay, what kind of breathing do I want right now to achieve the thing that I want to achieve, right? Do I need to chill out here? Do I need to basically breathe in through my nose and exhale longer than I'm inhaling? A lot of breathing, I like to keep things street level and usable. It's like, as long as you're exhaling more than you're inhaling, you're going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and you're going to calm down.
Yeah. You can put yourself to sleep with breathing.
You can. You can. And the whole thing there is like, if you find yourself in a high arousal state, you probably want to bring it down a few notches.
Yeah. I was thinking a little differently. The one I thought about when we talking about this, the skill I thought about, it's something that I like to bring in, and you gotta help me remember this, is to use I statements. Like, I think if I could go back and tell my younger self something about communication, is to use I statements when communicating. It goes to reflective listening. But in talking, in advocating for myself, it's very important for me to use to make it about me. Is too often I get into you or the general you. It's almost like putting it out there in the you sphere. It's like universe struggles with this. Right. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. It's so indirect and it's so abstract and non-concrete that it's safer, right? But if you say I, then it makes it concrete, and it actually is a little more safe because it's not as threatening to when you is pointing a finger. When you say you're pointing a finger, and it's automatically it's a preaching, you're getting into that preaching advice like you're talking about earlier mode, you know?
Yeah. I mean, so I like that. That's a good example of like how to take care of somebody else's arousal state. You're not taking care of your own in that moment, right? When we're communicating and you're using I statements, what you're actually doing is you're taking care of the other person's arousal state. Because if you threaten somebody, what's going to happen? They're going to get aroused. They're going to get activated, right? And then when that happens, things start moving fast. And we start not thinking very clearly, and we get defensive, and maybe we start to get a little counterattack going. Like we're already thinking about what we're going to say. Oh, you, me, you. Okay. Here it comes. I'm ready. You just.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's taking care of somebody. Like, so that's using words.
Well, but you know,
somebody else's state.
I would say it also helps our own state in the sense that
it might.
when I use I, it puts more onus on me, and it puts it more concretely in, and I have to start thinking of it in terms of my responsibilities.
Okay. So
you know,
let me throw something out here. So here's one thing. If I could write a letter to myself, I would totally start off with is, bro, get out of your head. So when we're talking about arousal, we're talking about nose to toes. From your nose to your toes, the 7% of your body that's really calling the shots, and it's moving faster than your prefrontal cortex. I'm with you. Like, these things are good, right? Like, those are important things, how I think about myself, and that's glorious. I'm sort of pandering a little bit. Those are important things, right? But that's not what's running the show.
Right.
It's really not.
Well, say more about that. What is running the show? What do you mean by show?
So the show is what we're doing with our whole body. Okay. And since, I don't know, maybe since, it's hard to tell exactly how long we've been stuck in this highly intellectualized state in the Western world. We've kind of lost sight of how to be an embodied and whole person. The rational part of our mind is a glorious and wonderful thing. It has a very dark side, and we could talk about that for a long time if you want. We have to be able to control our bodies in order to think well. It starts there, right? If we're not breathing right and we're in an overly aroused state, our brain will, it becomes, instead of being a tool, it becomes a weapon. Okay.
What do you mean? Say more about that. What does it look like for our brain to become a weapon?
Sure.
Right. In an instance like that, you know?
Well, yeah. Like, if you feel under threat, what does our brain do? It defends itself. So shields are funny. Like, you know, you can beat people with a shield. People do it all the time. I can beat people with a shield? Metaphorically, yes. I mean, even literally in a fight, you can. You can buffet people with a shield, right? It's like, what are we really trying to do as human beings? It's not to win an argument.
Right.
It's not to be right. Or at least I would argue that. You know,
so communication. Yeah. I think I mean, just backing up and explaining to my younger self that communication is super important.
Yes.
And like you're saying, being aware of the other person, not in an aroused state, but in so being aware of myself, being aware of the other person, and being aware of the interaction, like how much we are influencing each other with our, just presence.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in my mind, like, to be a mature human being, when we're communicating, ideally, I'm going to be taking care of myself and you at the same time and achieving like a consensual goal. We often don't do that. We're often not clear about, what am I trying to get out of this?
Yeah, you're right.
And then taking care of ourselves and one another in real time. Where it's like,
well, life goes so fast. And what I find is that I don't take enough time to prepare. In other words, like getting to what we're talking about, developing skills.
Right.
like I'm lazy and I wait for the moment to work on something. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be more aware. Well, it's already too late. Once we're in the moment. But maybe you disagree.
This is why I'm a big fan of skills. We don't, like, in my mind, what I wish I had 20 years ago was just a handful of very basic yet powerful skills that you practice every single day. Right? Like being mindful, and I'll use the word mindful here. I'll use the word watchful, same thing, whatever. We're putting our attention and awareness, like getting out of autopilot, number one. Like that's a skill.
Getting out of autopilot.
Autopilot is a skill. Practice it, right? Like,
well, that's a concept. What do you do to get yourself out of autopilot? Breathing?
Right. Turn your attention back towards your body.
Turning your attention to your body, your language, right? Using I.
You can slow down language. This is really basic stuff. It's like, I mean, I'll be in the. I said one. I don't use self-checkout because unless I absolutely have to.
What does that mean? Say that.
I don't like the self-checkout at the grocery store.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
I don't either.
I intentionally set up things where I have to be in line.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look at my phone. And I just use my senses. See, our brains can take us back into the future or into the past and be in la la land in half a second. And we're not in contact with ourselves and the environment in real time. Like, this is a dangerous thing about being a human being. And then
checking out, like, it's funny. You're talking about checking out, like at a grocery store, but we actually check out.
Right, we go someplace else. I can be standing in the line and thinking about what I'm going to do next, or I can stand in the line and be in the line and look at the people and listen to the sounds and smell the smells and appreciate just this very fleeting moment I'm in. That's a practice. Okay, like I do that for myself as an intentional practice, so I can go in and out of autopilot when I need to. Right? It's great to just sit around and daydream or think about a problem or whatever, right? But we're in this like virtual space. We're not really in contact with our body and the living moment. We're often in prefrontal cortex la la land, which is really cool. Like, by the way, I mean, it's really awesome. We can do that. We can dream up, amazing things.
Yeah, I used to when I was younger. I used to tell my sister that I'm going to Natir. Not here. I'm going to Natir.
Yeah.
Put on the earphones and go to Natir.
I like it. I love it.
And I think it's really important. I would tell my younger self, don't go to Natir. Be here now. I mean, it's cliche.
It is cliche, but it's something you can practice.
The third skill that I think that, there's breathing, there's awareness of our breathing. So there's awareness of our breathing, there's awareness of our words, and I think that there is practicing awareness of our surroundings. I think when I would tell my younger self that if you are in the line somewhere or even waiting at a stop sign, being aware, being aroused at that point and not being sedated and on autopilot, because often I'll end up back home, or old horse syndrome will bring me back home because I'm on autopilot. It's scary.
Right.
And the older I get, the more autopilot kicks in, which is, dangerous.
There's all these little opportunities. Those are all kinds of those are little things that, I know for myself, I really didn't start practicing any of that. Probably, it's probably been the last 10 years. It's been about the last decade. And those are really, like, they sound very simple, and they are not easy, but they are fundamental building blocks for any, like, in my mind, conceptually, like, they are those, what we just talked about are one of many different, like, building blocks for anything above and beyond that. If you can't
Well,
pull yourself out of autopilot, you're going to have a hard time dealing with difficult emotions.
and I would say this, the other danger is that you just go through autopilot the rest of your life, and you get to your old age and you look back and it was all autopilot. And how sad and devastating that might be for me, at least. I don't know about
Yeah,
you, but for me, looking back, if I did everything autopilot, you know, I would be that would be devastating for me. I want to be engaged. I want to be aroused, you know, to not highly aroused where I'm freaking out,
not too much, not too
but
little.
enough so I can be observant of the world around and engage with the world around me.
Right. Yeah. When there's a sweet spot where we can be engaged, we can be curious, we can be wise.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you know, Goldilocks kind of stuff. Like we can be too hot, we can be too cold. Everyone's shooting for just right.
Yeah.
But with a little bit of, like, I don't know, knowledge and skill, aka wisdom, right? You can hit just right more often than on accident, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you know.
Practicing these things, practicing breathing, practicing the words we use when we engage in conversation, and, you know, using I statements, and then practicing looking around and being, you know, in boring and mundane situations, practicing arousal.
Yeah, use your body. Use your five senses. Like, it's not just simply about like what's here. Like, it's, you know, the rest of your brain. And
Well, let's make it concrete. Yeah, if I'm in the car and I'm just driving along, you know, or at a stoplight, I think it is good to make it more concrete. What am I hearing right now? What do I see? What do I feel?
yeah,
What else?
what you smell, right?
What do I smell? Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
tasting's a little bit difficult in your car, you know, but smelling, you know, the olfactory stuff. But even just using our eyeballs alone, sight alone, you know, like,
Yeah.
we often
Sight
don't
and
pay
sound. Yeah. Turning off the radio.
Turn off the radio.
Yeah, because the radio can be such a panacea, you know. It's
And
just,
on the other hand, it's a wonderful gift.
it is. Oh yeah.
You know, like, get out of
Yeah, you're right.
take, you know, go to not. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, no, occasionally it's all right to go to not tear, you know,
Natir, yeah.
here, you know, not tear. You can go to Natir. But it's a vacation spot. It's not the place you want to live.
Right.
It's the place you want to visit.
Yeah.
You know, go and get your conceptual whiteboard out and fantasize about a future in Natir, and then come back to real life and build it.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, don't use it as an escape. You know, use it as a planning.
Right.
I mean, occasionally use it as an escape. I mean, you know, it's books. I mean, like, life is hard. Take a break, but, you know, don't live there.
I do want to say, like, I think that people don't need any help going to Natir. I think they need help not going to Natir. But I don't know. That is not necessarily true, right? Because, like, in people that have high levels of arousal in anxiety and fear probably need to go a little bit more to Natir. I don't know.
Well, they're actually living there.
Oh, okay. Say more. Well, we have about 2 minutes left. Say more about that.
Well, sure. Anxiety and fear is always a future-focused mental state. The anxiety is. Fear, I mean, unless it's actually in front of your face, right? Like, I'm holding a rattlesnake and I'm afraid of it. You're not in Natir. You're looking down the, you know, if somebody's got a gun to your face, right? You're looking down the barrel of a gun. Anxiety is always what if.
The what ifs, yeah.
And
it's a fantasy. It's the scary fantasy, right?
It is a scary fantasy, and it may be, you know, somewhat based in fact, but it's also based on our brain's ability to attempt to predict things, and it's actually pretty good at it. I mean, better than all the other critters on the planet. But if we're in that state, like, or we're experiencing that kind of emotion, we'll just pin anxiety for a second. In our minds, we are not here and now. We are not in touch with our bodies, right? Because odds are really good 95% of the time. Like, here and now is the safest, best, awesome place, most awesome place you can be. Occasionally, it's not. And then it makes sense if you're afraid or right, like you're experiencing some pretty intense arousal or emotions, and that's energy that you need probably to get out of a jam, ideally.
Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, like we're often in a mental state where we're off in the future or we're off in the past. We're really not out of and you know that some of that stuff can be useful. Again, like there's another piece of this when we haven't talked about, which is like flexibility, which we can often, because our brain likes to play in black and white land. It's like, well, I don't need to go to Natir, and it's like, no, it's actually probably a good idea to occasionally go. It sometimes is very workable. It might be the best, smart, right, good thing in the moment to go to
not future. Here.
Yeah, not here, and then do some stuff, and then come back.
Yeah.
You know, go on a vacation so you can relax. You know, on your front porch. Cool, man. You know, or dream about like, what's the next thing I'm gonna do? Sure, I'm gonna go to Natir to have my planning meeting. You know, have a little retreat. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we do have to disengage from the here and now to sort of practice things in our head. Like, how is it going to go when I say when I'm dropping off my daughter? I think it is good to sort of rehearse what it's going to be like in my head so that I can be present during that time. You know, kind of already sort of thinking, like in sports, you want to have a plan. You want to sort of visualize what you're going to do. Right. It may not happen that way, but you want to have something ready to be able to be action, to have certain actions in those moments. I want to be able to say encouraging things to my daughter, you know, before I drop her off, or my son before I haven't dropped him off at work yet. But you know, that sort of thing. Like, these are the things I'm thinking about practically for my life. As there is a time to go to not here to sort of plan things out, right?
You can. I mean, that's the fun about not here. I mean, you can make it whatever you want. You can maladaptive daydream all day long if you wish. You can turn it into a planning room, a war room. You can turn it into all kinds of things. You can also turn it into a hellscape. People do it all the time. It's fantasy land. It literally is fantasy land. But, you know, be careful in fantasy land.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap things up, what are some of the things that we've come up with as we talk about skills, and particularly skills for young men? As we, you know, I was thinking about one of the things that I need as you know, as I get into the middle years, as I am in the middle years, is to start thinking about these things, right? Is to pass some of these things down.
Sure. I mean, ideally, or I don't know. I think for me, it's kind of like taking inventory of like, okay, what have I been doing here lately that's working? But also kind of looking back and going like, what did I really need 20 years ago?
Yeah.
That would have made a profound impact in my life. And part of that, I think, is, you know, midlife grieving, where it's like, oh yeah, that nobody talked about that. Well, of course I you know, dropped the ball there, because we're living on acid.
Some practical things we've talked about.
Yeah,
breathing.
Yes,
our breathing. Pay attention to our breathing. Be aware of our breathing. Breathe deeper. You know,
as a good rule, like just breathe deeper. That will go far.
And then in communication, using I statements. When I talk about things, to talk about things in terms of me and I, that protects the other person, or it what did you say? It helps the other person's arousal.
Manage somebody else's arousal, right? You're using words in an attempt to not overly arouse them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is helpful for everybody.
Or, you know, the other thing is under arousal. A lot of times I've seen that when I I start pointing the finger, people
it can
close
shut
down.
Correct. You can shut people down.
Right. Yeah.
Which keeps them out of
especially my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out
exactly.
of the conversation. They can't
that
hear
wall.
anymore, right? They literally cannot use
Yeah, because they're
higher
not very
order stuff.
curious. From what I found, they're not really curious about what I think about them. They're more curious about what I think about me, you know? Like, they already know about themselves, and my interpretation of them is sort of uninteresting to them. You know? When I say you do this, you don't know me is always their retort, you know, in some
true.
fashion.
Right. They don't know themselves either, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They've only been around for a decade and a half, so it's cool.
Yeah.
Right. When their answer is I don't know, it's like, yeah, you don't. That's cool. I get it. Like, I barely know.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so let's figure it out together. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do want to know about you.
Yeah. It's more curious. Yeah, it's more curious to know about other people. And then the last thing is being curious and aware of our surroundings in mundane situations, like standing in line at the grocery store, driving. We mentioned driving. What are some other places?
Everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. Turning off the panacea of the radio, you know, and being there, practicing. It's easier to be there when we're in pain or when somebody's demanding our attention, right? Maybe not, depending on who it is. But
if I were gonna like name the skill here, I'm not sure what I would title it, but it is actually being aware of going in and out of autopilot.
Yeah.
You need to know when you're on autopilot and how to get out of it. You need to know when autopilot is really useful, right? Yeah. When you get into a flow state and you just bang out a bunch of work, that's great.
I need to know. Yeah.
You need to know how to do that. Like last night, I made supper. What do? I put on a CD I've heard 1,000 times and I go to work, right? I'm getting in an automatic in a flow state. But that's different than me stopping and breathing and being aware and slowing down and using all of my senses and being here and now and very intentional, right? Yeah. That's a different mode. And knowing how to get in and out of these modes is a critical skill.
Yeah.
You've got to practice it because when you need it is not now. You're going to need it at some other point. And you need to be able to get in and out as fast as you can and on purpose. So, just something.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that does it. And I think we will continue, weekly to kind of come back to this idea of...
We'll pound this one out a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe the theme could be called, like, what I tell my younger self.
Yeah. Or what we'll stick with the I statements. What did I need 20 years ago?
What did I need 20 years ago? Yeah. What kind of skills should I have been working on 20 years ago?
Right. Yeah. I didn't have a clue. I mean, I had some clues, but the problem was they were just that. They were clues.
Yeah.
Inklings,
if you will.
I needed something to sink my teeth into and work. Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you, anybody who tuned in. We did have some people watching, Justin Wormsley, who, a friend of mine who is younger and may be going through some of this, maybe needs some of this stuff. And Christian McNeil, my cousin.
So Christian.
Always appreciate him tuning in. He'd probably have some good things to say about this. But that does it for today. Appreciate you joining me again. Josh, and let's continue this conversation.
We'll pick it up soon.
Till the what do we used to say? See you later. If the creek don't rise.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the traditional. We'll see you later, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.